Big race in there, and that's the Shriners Classic.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot of history with your father, winning that race 3 times.
Yeah,
and,
huge.
Coming close with Colby there a couple of years before.
Yeah.
And then you guys finally, knocking the.
Well, no.
Yeah. Finally knocking that monkey off your back.
Yeah.
How big was that?
It was, well, like he's, I mean, it was huge. It was like every year, that's kind of what you're getting that's what we're getting ready for. And like I know many people have said in other articles and stuff like that, like there's no more money to it. There's no more. It's not.
It's a points race.
Yeah, yeah.
Most years.
But to be able to win it is like, I actually went away with Aaron a couple, a month ago or something like that, and we were talking a little bit of racing and stuff on the way home. We had to go on a work course, and he was saying like, even hearing it from another person, like how crazy it is to like want to win that race and how many people are like gunning for it, and to be able to do it. Like I said, like 2017, I mean, we weren't that deep into our career. I don't think we thought we were going to get it when we did. We were definitely shooting for it, but for it to work out and happen was huge and kind of tie. I don't look at it, as our fathers being on the trophy or us. It's kind of looking at like the car number, has been there. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It was crazy. It was, we're definitely fortunate to kind of get it off. We definitely want it, more and more. We want to win it every year. You're going out to win it, but it feels good to a little bit of pressure off to, get one out of the way. So yeah.
And you mentioned the car number 2. We run 38 laps every Friday night at Scotia Speed World.
Yeah.
How cool is that to still have that number there? And does it put any extra added fire underneath you to go out and win a 38 lap feature?
It's awesome that they paid respect like that to do that. I think actually the division could have used a little bit longer races anyway, so it was great that they did that. As far as the pressure goes, not really. We just kind of enjoy that and take pride in sort of the reputation, I guess, that our fathers had at the the racetrack and the presence they made.
It's an honor to have that.
Yeah, huge. Even when we pull into the pits, like we still pit right where they pit it. The track actually put a 38 right in front of their stall. So for most weeks, even especially where we've been part-time, any given week when we roll in, give or take a little bit, but that spot's usually available.
We're still in the dirt.
Yeah, we're still in the dirt.
They'd roll in their grave if we went to the
Yeah, we can't go on pavement. So but it's great that they did stuff like that. Like I said, it just kind of, I don't know, it's just
38. This is going to be a fun evening. Glad you could join us, Tim Terry, Denver Matchett, and Dylan Langell, and Brandon Campbell is here as well. Denver, Brandon, we had a busy weekend, or at least we had a busy Saturday and Sunday for some of us. Dylan, what did you do with your weekend?
I was not at a racetrack. I was at a couple hockey rinks, though.
Yeah, we were too on Saturday night, Denver. Something about a Bearcat win. Yeah.
No idea what you're talking about.
No. At least you didn't get hit by a puck.
I was going to say that. Puck. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was too busy ducking like I ducked from demo cars.
Considering that it was a November demolition, car count was great. Racing was phenomenal in the Bombers and the demolition at Miramichi. And congratulations on your second place finish in the staff race.
Best average finish.
Yeah, here we go again. Yeah,
yep.
Congratulations to Doug, who actually, Brandon wasn't there. I mean, he missed out on taking part in the staff race, right?
Two years in a row, he missed out.
I also missed out on getting hit in the head with a puck, too. So I'd say it was a good Saturday.
It was a good Saturday for you. We had the Maritime Short Track Summit on Sunday. That was fun. I want to thank all of the racetracks in Atlantic Canada that were represented, and all of them, at least the paved ovals, were represented at the Short Track Summit this year. So some great conversation, and hopefully it brings into some more things coming down the pipe in 2022 for racers and fans and racetracks alike. And then we had the Oyster Bed Banquet. Want to thank the folks at Oyster Bed, Robbie, Tammy, and the whole crew over there. Awesome time. Brandon, you missed out. I guess you were invited. Everybody asked where Brandon was.
Well, so funny story. As soon as we left the summit, I got home. I have a call from Jesse Leclerc. Amber goes, Jesse's already been into the cold ones. He wants to know if you're coming. So this was probably 3 p.m. and the banquet started at 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So apparently I missed out on the all day activity that I didn't know about, but Ricky wasn't there, so it wasn't worth it.
Well,
I have a question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there actually an open bar?
The bar was open. The bar was open. I don't know whose tab it was on, but the bar was open.
Well, Jesse told me it was your tab if I showed up.
Oh, it wasn't mine. Let's get that one straight.
Good thing I didn't come then.
It definitely wasn't mine. I'll tell you that much. But it was a great time. thank you to all the Oyster Bed folks over there, Jeremy McDonald. We had a great time hosting that thing, and looking forward to 2022. I know there are a couple of things news-wise on the horizon from Oyster Bed Speedway. Cannot spill the beans yet, but I think they're pretty positive that what we have coming on the horizon in 2022 at Oyster Bed Speedway. We got a busy show here this evening, though. We're going to talk a little Speedway 660 to kick off the 38th episode of Tim's Corner Live. We've got Justin Cole in the wings. We've got Randy Titus, driver of the number 75 Sharpshooter. We're going to go four-cylinder racing in the second portion of this show, and then we're going to chat with Travis Roma. And you just saw the clip coming off the front of the show there, talking about the Shriners Classic and 38-lap features at Scotia. We're going to dive into that in a little bit as well. We are live and interactive here this evening. Be sure to drop us a question or a comment, and we'll get to it here this evening. Let's have some fun and be interactive this evening. Give Brandon something to do, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm almost asleep. It's 8 o'clock. I'm getting old, so something's got to keep me awake.
Well, something like that, because you've got a busy schedule coming up tomorrow as well, because you're going to run the LCQ for the Tim's Corner 300, right?
Yeah, we'll see. It's already been a busy day. We ran the fixed snowball derby on iRacing. As soon as this ends, I'm probably going to run the open one because I'm crazy.
Did you last more than 20 laps?
I lasted all 300. They weren't good, but I finished them.
They weren't good, boys. That's not
So
a great sign.
Where'd you finish?
7th.
So there's only 7 cars left on the track.
Yes.
At least 7. Were you on the lead lap?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll give you that one. We'll roll with that. We're going to talk TCM 300 in between the second and third interviews here this evening, because that's been big this week, because Dylan's going to come back and make his iRacing debut one more time. But before we do, let's hop into some real racing, shall we? And we'll bring in our first guest here this evening. It's driver. That is the wrong piece of B-roll to start off with, Paul. We're looking at Justin Cole, driver of the number 38. And we will bring him up here on the show. We'll do this. We'll take care of this. There we go. There we go. And I think everything potentially, maybe, hold on here. Stand by. That's good. We love live TV. Dylan, kill your camera. Maybe, maybe not. We've got
Dylan's frozen.
Dylan's frozen, so we're gonna welcome in Justin Cole, and we're gonna wait for Dylan to come out of the deep freeze. There we go. Justin, how are you tonight?
Hey, good. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Just looking at some highlights from earlier in this season. I believe what we're looking at on the screen is Speed Weekend with you and Ricky in the heat race. First, we'll start off there, I guess. 2021 came out with that new paint scheme and looked pretty good. Only partial appearances, but let's look back at the season that was. Let's talk about your season.
Yeah, it was didn't do a whole lot. I guess we only ended up running four or five times. I guess we had 8 scheduled, but we lost our 3 big fall ones we were looking forward to. So hopefully get back and do a little more next year, I guess.
We've been chatting before about the less is more sort of thing. When we did the shop stop, we kind of chatted about that as well, with, maybe less races is going to bring more drivers to the racetrack. And I think it has the last couple of seasons. I know you're a fan of the schedule. What with everything coming through with the Summit and Petty and 660 working together, what's your take on everything here the last couple of seasons moving forward?
I really liked the schedule that 660 put out last year for, just freeing up some other weekends to do some other things other than racing. But we just had a late start. We were waiting on parts and we were late getting going, I guess. But I'll see what they got for a schedule next year. But something similar, we'll definitely try and do some more and maybe even try the full-time thing again if we can.
We are live and interactive with Justin Cole. Be sure to drop us a question or a comment, and we'll get to it. Some big races in this last season. Obviously, the big loss at the end of the year was the Ricky Bobby 150 not happening as planned, but Speed Weekend was big. The Aircar Construction 100 with the Maritime Street Stock Series coming together. It seems like the end of the season's big race season at 660 with the Street Stock. So give us a little synopsis on how your end of the season went, because I know there was some long races and in some of those there was a couple of cautions, especially on that Speed Weekend deal.
Yeah, we were tore up pretty bad after Speed Weekend. Worse I've been in a long time. So we crashed pretty hard to get ready for the Ricky Bobby, and that didn't happen. And then I guess we were ready for, so after that Miramichi. My daughter's birthday that weekend, so we had planned her birthday for Sunday so we could race Saturday, and got rained out. It was Sunday, and I had to go away for work for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So I had to sit it out, I guess. And I hated to. That's probably my favorite race of the year. That one. I was looking forward to getting back there again. Anyway, we just didn't happen, and then Ricky Bobby never ended up going, and Shediac was the other one we were planning on taking. Didn't happen either. So we kind of ended on a not how we wanted to. Cars in one piece, kind of all ready for next year, but we definitely were looking forward to doing some good fall racing, and never get to do any, I guess.
The Maritime Street Stock Series is pretty big this year, trying to get these racetracks amalgamated on their big shows, or at least some of their big shows throughout the year. It happens throughout the summer, and I know the first race was kind of moved because of COVID, and the Oyster Bed race kind of got changed. But what was your take on the Maritime Street Stock Series? I know you got to compete in at least one of those races. For it, against it, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's I don't know how many cars they ended up that actually committed to the whole 5 races, but I think it's something that'll be big in time. It takes a little while for stuff like that to get rolling. I'm not sure, so it's something never for me, just usually on the roads all week, so I don't like traveling a whole lot on the weekends, I guess, but I think it's cool, and there's a lot of effort put in, and I hope to see it turn into something big for everybody.
I know social media is starting to light up a little bit. We'll get to Brandon Campbell in just a moment, but your racing career has taken you across a few divisions back and forth. For those that don't know, how did you get your start in racing?
Well, I've always been around racing, I guess. Just back to being a kid, going watching, and then ended up spending some time with Bradley Logan in my early teens, I guess, working on his car and still going to the races and whatnot. And I guess in the 4-cylinder division, it was probably like the 3rd year at 660 when they had that going. We ended up realizing that there was a division that was affordable that we could get into, so we built a car, and that's how we got rolling. So if it wasn't for that division, I probably wouldn't have never get into it.
Obviously, things change and things go through a phase. Obviously, sharpshooters right now are the big thing at Speedway 660. Let's chat about that division, because I know you're a spectator and you kind of look at it as much as you are a driver in that street stock division. How neat is it to see that division really take off?
It's cool. It's fun to watch. Those guys put on a really good show, guys and girls, I guess. And yeah, they're fun to watch. And say every car, doesn't matter how fast it goes, they all bring people to the track, and more sponsors, more fans, more tickets. So it's a good thing. It needed to happen. It's a good thing.
Taking a look at some of the B-roll from a couple of seasons ago at Speedway Miramichi, and I guess we'll bring that up now. You mentioned missing out on that one this year with changing of the date because of the weather, but how special is that race every year to go up to Miramichi and be the show when it comes to that street stock division and that the huge trophy that goes along with?
Yeah, it's very cool. Like I say, that's probably my favorite race. The trophies, and like you say, just being the headline show. We're used to in the the support divisions, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's nice to go and actually be the show. Kind of cool just to be the big guys for for a day.
And speaking about being the show, I guess we'll bring Brandon Campbell in. Brandon, what do you got on social? Because I know it's starting to light up a little bit over there.
Yeah, we got a couple people here. Brent Patterson, who's actually I think here just as much as we are. And he likes the hat you have on your head and wants to know if you got any more of them.
I might have 1 or 2 kicking around for you, Brent.
I think he'll be first on your list, right?
Yeah, we had an order put in back in the. I don't even know when we put it in, but it was like everything else this year. It was just late. Didn't get it till. Well, we were hoping to have them for Speed Weekend, and it didn't happen. Get some T-shirts and stuff, and then I guess we had them for the Ricky Bobby, but we never made it to the track. So. I'm tucked away for next year, I guess.
We'll make sure we'll have to make sure he gets one then. Our buddy Caleb Burkhardt in here too, who's I wouldn't say new to the division, but one of the newer guys, and he says I wish I could catch that guy.
Well, wasn't too hard this year, but Caleb's running good. He gets better every time out. So it's nice to see movement in the division, and the guys move up. And he was a contender all year for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely starting to come into that series. And Tim,
Yeah.
the last question here is from Colin Brewer, and I think I'm just going to ignore it.
You're missing one from Fred Bannister up there too. Come on.
Oh,
now.
you're right.
Get on-
You're right.
Yeah. Get on the
You're
game
right.
here.
I can't forget Freddie. He'd be pissed. And he just asked, do you ever think you'll move up to any other class, like a Sportsman, a Modified, or a Pro Stock?
Can't see it really. We did 3 years in the Sportsman division, and I love driving that division. I love the division. It's always been my favorite, but it's just too much work. It doesn't work for my lifestyle, my occupation, my family. It's just too much. We can feel like have a little bit more time to be competitive in the street stock, I guess. So it's kind of where we've made our home for now. I don't foresee it changing, but you never know. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, for sure. And especially with how strong the street stock class is at 660, you know, it's one of the highest classes there, even though they run Sportsman and Pro Stock.
We're getting some big races too, and
Yep.
It's getting big everywhere. You're seeing some more people coming to the division, and even some coming back into the division. So it's I'm perfectly happy where we are and how it's going.
Tim, it's looking like story time because Sean Heislip just asked, has anyone ever gave you a bump and run, and were you mad at them?
No, I just make sure I always return them.
Is there a backstory onto this or anything we're missing?
Probably a picture somewhere.
And
go
if Sean has the picture, he's going to post it somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's the first time he ever used his bumper. He's pretty proud of it.
I mean, he's got that championship. I know he's pretty proud of that. Do you have any rivalry between you and him? Kind of a friendly rivalry, race wins, what have you, going back and forth?
Oh yeah, we torment back and forth and keep everybody on the internet thinking we don't like each other, but we do a little bit.
Okay, so who's winning between you and Sean right now? Like after the 2021 season, who's got the edge going into 2022?
Probably not me.
I want to ask you about the 2022 season coming in, because you mentioned the street stock is pretty much all ready to go after a couple of Ricky Bobby cancellations and things moving because of rain and what have you. So we'll look at 2022. First of all, how do you see this division going? Is the time where, the changes are made, the, rules get tweaked, what have you, from a driver perspective, a race car aficionado perspective? Do you see anything that you want to see changed heading into the 2022 campaign?
I really don't. I'd say I'd like to see 660 keep the schedule they ran last year. I really like that. I just didn't get to partake in it. If we had been ready in time, we were planning to, but I guess I lobbied for a schedule like that along with a lot of other people that did, and I said I would support it if it came in, and then we just weren't ready. We just didn't get ready in time. And so I guess if they keep something like that, you could see us back full time. We just hard for us to do it every single weekend back to back. But I like the division. I don't think it needs anything. Hopefully we get some more cars and keep going up.
I know Brandon Albert, when I was over at the Oyster Bed Banquet, his eyes kind of lit up and he said, "Yeah, we're doing 2 Ricky Bobbies this year. Did you forget that?" And I said, "No, I did not." And it's not lost on a couple of those guys in the island that they want to make that early trip over in May or June or whenever that Ricky Bobby 2021 edition is. Obviously, street stock racing, lots of big racing, as we mentioned at 660, but to kick it off with the Ricky Bobby 150, how huge is that going to be to start off your season with essentially the Daytona 500-esque of 660 racing?
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I didn't know if we were just having one and they were having at the beginning of the season, or if we were still going to have 2. Some people thought we were going to have 2. So yeah, more the merrier.
Absolutely. We're going to go back to social in just a second, but Denver, what do you have for Mr. Cole?
All right. Well, Justin, 2021 as a whole, I guess, was a little rough for you. Like you said, a couple little incidents. What is your biggest takeaway from the 2021 season?
Well, we did spend the whole season changing setups continuously, so we're just wasn't a total loss. We found some things that didn't work, and I guess we tested late fall and we found a couple things that did work. So it wasn't. I guess when we started the season, we really didn't have big expectations. We just wanted to learn some stuff. Kind of been stuck in the same setup for a bit and just wanted to try something different. So we spent our time doing that, and some nights it was okay and some nights it wasn't, and it wasn't a total loss, I guess. It wasn't, the results weren't there, but we gained some knowledge, I guess, out of it.
So correct me if I'm wrong. You haven't won a feature race since your 100-lap win in Miramichi 2 years ago?
No, I have not.
So next year's got to be a comeback year, right?
I hope so. It needs to be.
So you look at the straight stock division and the tough competitors. You look at the Michael Cormiers. Riley Goodwin won the championship this year. Sean's won a couple races, this year. What makes those guys so good? What do you need to find just to get to them and get around them?
Oh, they work hard on their stuff, and they're both good drivers. They're the ones to beat every weekend out, hands down. I know they all put time. Shop time's huge. Having a good car is huge. Being a good driver is huge. It's a package deal. And those guys got it all. They get it going on. So I guess it's gonna up our program a little bit and catch them and pass them.
You talked about the schedule at 660 and how they improved upon it, made it a little more easier for drivers to, enjoy life outside of racing. You went for the championship a few years ago, and obviously when they were running every week, came up just a little bit short. What would it mean if you were able to run the full year next year, if you were able to go get that championship?
It would mean a lot, I guess. It's something that we're missing. It's a big deal to win one. The guys that have won one have definitely fully earned it. I like to think we're capable of winning one. It's just a lot. Yeah, it was the last time we ran full time. We battled with Sean and Riley all season, and it was fun. It was a lot. It was busy. It was a very busy summer, but I would like to, if we had a schedule like that to run again and we can be ready, which we more or less are. I was thinking the other day I'd like to go for it.
I want to ask about the paint job on the car. You went a little different this year, a bit of a gunmetal gray, I think it was called. What was the idea behind that? Because for the last couple of years, the fans have been accustomed to the pink and blue car.
Yeah, I don't know, there got to be a few blue cars around and we wanted to be different again. And it's actually a Dodge color. It's called Destroyer Gray. We did put a little bit more white in it, lightened it up, but that's kind of the name it goes with. I don't know, it kind of backfired on us because we ended up getting destroyed a lot this year, so it wasn't supposed to work that way. But it's different. It's different. It'll be around for a couple of years. I'm not painting it again, so for a year or two. But it's had some compliments on it. It stands out, I guess. Different.
You take a lot of pride in your cars, and every year you seem to have the best looking car. And this year you might say you might not change it, but for a couple of years you had a little bit of a tweak to the paint scheme every year. What is it? Do you want to have the best looking car at the track, or what is it about making the car look so good?
Well, the best looking car isn't always the best car by far, but I do have pride in my stuff, I guess, and I like to keep my car looking good for our sponsors and our fans, and I also like to change it up each year. Like to say, we went with the blue for 3 years, but we always put different graphics on it. And I wasn't going to change it this year, but I probably will. I probably will end up peeling the vinyl off it, just put something different back on it. And but yeah, I don't know. It's just the pride thing. Must be the trucker in me, maybe.
Before I throw it back over to Tim, one last question. I got to go here. Any stories between you and Sean and any trips to Dairy Queen this summer?
Yeah, the blizzards are good. Hot eats, cool treats.
Okay, I figured there'd be more to that, but I guess we'll leave it at that. Now, social media is ablaze, and I'm gonna go over to Brandon in a second. But this is the first time, believe it or not, since I think episode 2 or 3, that we've had a fan question submitted before we hit the air. So Justin, this is big. This doesn't happen very often. And there's a photo associated with it. Paul, bring that up. and it reads, I'm not going to say who it's from because you can figure it out. Justin, how did you get your nickname Cyclone? Tell us the story and how it works.
I bet this come from Eastport, Maine, probably.
Yes, it did.
Tell me to go back to bed.
We're not going to go any further.
There's a few different. What would you call it?
There's a few different. Is there a PG version of the story?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, we can't air it.
Okay, what happens in Eastport stays in Eastport.
So.
Brandon, what do you got on social over there? Because I see a Goodwin, I see Richard Atkinson, I even see Brent Roy over there watching tonight. Big crowd tonight.
Yeah, this place is going crazy. I think this is the most comments I've ever had to read. We talk about the good-looking car. Chris Wilson's in here, and he mentions potentially the TCM nicest car. What do you call it again, Tim?
Best looking car.
Best looking car. He mentions that. So I assume that car is nominated. Tim?
I'm not sure.
Oh, you're asking me. I haven't looked at the nominations. Actually, judging starts, I believe, tomorrow night with our panel. So if not, we might be able to slide it in there.
Yeah, I think it needs to be there. Our good buddy from the
Everybody
island.
forgot about
Oh,
me.
go ahead. We'll put it on. I'll nominate it if that's how that works. I'm not sure. Our buddy Jeff McInnes from the islands here. Oh, we're scrolling. 1 second. He says, hope to get a chance to run against you next summer. Always a great guy to race against. They were aiming for the Ricky Bobby. So I guess the cancellation of the Ricky Bobby didn't only affect the 660 guys, but the guys that like to travel too. And the Atkinson crew actually told on you. They said that you and Sean Heislip drink beer at the campfire all the time. So I think your plan of making everyone think you hate each other doesn't really work.
Yeah. Kind of backfired, didn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit. Jeff Rose is in here. He likes the way the schedule is because it splits racing and family. Logan Power popped in. He called you a wheelman, so I guess that's a good compliment from Logan.
I would say coming from him, yeah.
We might have another backstory here. Adam Justison asked, do you always get along with your crew members?
Oh yeah, always.
Who else we have? Yeah, go ahead.
Adam's the engine man. He takes the most flack.
This might be some foreshadowing. Daniel Adio asked if you would ever consider running a 4-cylinder next year again if you had the chance.
Yeah, I'd love to get in one. BJ talked about putting me in one a couple years ago, but I never got the chance. I'd probably get run over out there, but yeah, I'd hop in anything. I'd love to get in one.
I think we're gonna have to set you up with Daniel then. You must love the cold treats because Brent Roy asked, in your opinion, anything other than slushies that would help bring the fans and teams to 660.
Well, I'm still waiting for the slushy machine.
So, Brent, if you're still watching, you better get on that.
Was that a Dairy Queen joke again?
I'm assuming. I'm not really sure.
I don't think that is. I think it's more of a brainstorming idea because I think you've been around the racetrack as long as anybody has here on the show. So is there anything that you might think of that might bring fans or teams into the racetrack on a weekly basis?
Put me on the spot. I'm supposed to do my email for that stuff, and I haven't even had time to think about it. Yeah, there's lots of stuff. You get me hung up here now.
We'll circle back around to that. make it easier. And I think the one that we didn't get to, Brandon Bob Goodwin says fluorescent orange looks good down the side of that rig. So I think what he's trying to say is if you put fluorescent orange on it already, Riley can't add to it, right?
Oh, maybe that's what he's up to.
Yeah, something like that. You look forward to this upcoming season. You mentioned running for a championship. Is there anything you want to scratch off of that bucket list this year in 2022, whether it's a big race win or whether it's something that you might not have been able to do yet in your racing career?
Probably Speed Weekend. Speed Weekend would be obviously the Ricky Bobby. But yeah, we've podiumed on the Speed Weekend. I'd like to win that. It's come close a couple times. I was hoping this year maybe get a chance of being a two-time winner or the first two-time winner at Miramichi, but Logan beat me on that, and I don't think I'd had anything for him, but that was kind of in the thoughts. But any of those big races are cool to win. They're hard to win, so when you can win one, it's big accomplishment.
We kind of chatted about rivalries off the top of the show with you and Ricky, swapping a little bit of paint. We've seen it a couple of times. Besides Ricky, is there any other rivalry you might have in the back of your head there, the racer don't forget mentality sort of thing? Or let's talk about the battles with Ricky, because you guys race hard every time you're on the racetrack.
Yeah, I don't think he likes me very much. No, I don't. Me and Sean like to race. I don't mind some rubbing and whatnot, bumpers, I guess. I'll do that to anybody, I guess. But me and Sean race hard. Me and Riley will race hard. What else is it? Me and Rick, yeah. But as far as a rivalry, I don't know. Probably Rick takes the takes the cap for that one.
I was going through and doing some editing on some of the B-roll stuff, and Travis Roma told a story during his shop stop about that moment where he got to race against Wayne Smith. It's one of those moments where you see a driver and you hear about him for so many years, and you finally get to rub doors with him and swap some paint. Obviously, the street stock division has seen a lot of drivers come and go throughout at 660, and a lot of legends have gone through there. Is there a driver that you'd like to see either back in a street stock, or a driver that you might have had that moment that said, this is kind of cool, I get to race with this driver X?
Well, speak of Wayne Smith, it was cool to race with Wayne, just for the accomplishments he's had over the years, and so to be actually on the racetrack at the same time as him, for me, was cool. Brian Gillespie, a couple years ago, I thought they might actually put him in Noah's old car there for one of the Ricky Bobbies that was talked about. So that would have been neat. It would be neat to Brian's a cousin, and for what he's had for accomplishments, it was kind of exciting thinking he might have got back in, but I guess he kind of decided that he was done and he wasn't going to get back in. So, but that would have been cool, I guess, to turn some laps against the night train for sure.
Do we still have a Dylan Langell with us here tonight? Dylan, what do you got for Justin Cole?
I got a little something. Justin, good to have you on the chat here. And I guess to kind of relive that Speed Weekend race, Tim and I were announcing. Well, Tim, weren't you eating turkey or something?
Randy McCoy brought us turkey dinner, and it was getting cold, so I wanted to make sure we cleaned that up a little bit. But yes, I was up there.
And tacos.
And tacos, yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Justin, while we were in the booth eating food, that was a pretty intense street stock race where we saw Michael Cormier and Luke McLaughlin and Riley Goodwin contend for the win. And we showed a clip earlier. You and the villain seem to be kind of attached to each other in that race. And that's what kind of I saw there. You were kind of stuck in the pack there. That was a pretty rough go in that race and a lot of cautions. Really hard to get a few laps under the belt. How was that race for you, where the car did get a little beat up here and there?
Well, it was a little frustrating, I guess. I thought we had a good car. We were kind of saving for the end, and anyway, we ended up getting tore up. But I think we did come back and finish fourth or whatever, which for the shape the car was in and everything that was bent and mangled in the front of it, it was surprising that it still had a fourth place in it. When I pitted the first time, or when I pitted the last time after the last wreck that we get tangled up in, I really didn't expect to get back out. I could hear the fan beating off the rad or shroud or something in there. There was just a lot of bent up stuff. But anyway, we did end up getting back out and run back up to fourth. So the car was still decent. And shame we didn't get to, finish the race on full capacity. Because I think we might have had something for them.
How much damage can these street stock cars take before it really takes them out? Because it's always slammed into each other kind of racing. It seems like these are the cars that are meant maybe for a little rougher style racing. How much can they really take?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, and they'll take a lot more than a Sportsman or a Pro Stock will, for sure. I mean, everything's steel, but when you get up around the front, we collapsed the bumper and drove the bumper back into the radiator and just collapsed everything up there. We hit quite hard, so they'll take a lot. You can lay on each other's doors and beat and bang that way, quite a bit without damaging anything performance wise. But I guess they're not invincible either.
I'll throw one more at you here, Justin. Here in Nova Scotia, there's not a huge street stock racing scene anymore. It only kind of is in Cape Breton. But let's say this maybe Maritime street stock tour could go to any track in Nova Scotia. Where do you want to bring the boys?
Well, Antigonish obviously would be pretty cool. I don't know if they've ever run a street stock there, but that's the big one, I guess. If we could ever go there, I would be there for sure.
I guess I put a 1B there. Have you ever raced in Nova Scotia?
No, I haven't. Never raced in Nova Scotia.
Tim, we may have to find him a ride and maybe another Sportsman and get him a little ride over here.
Yeah, we might have to figure something out. I know there's a couple of Sportsman cars kicking around. We might have to find you a seat for a race either in Scotia or Riverside. But I want to kind of put you on the spot a little bit again, not to throw a Brent Roy sort of question at you, but we kind of discussed this at the summit a little bit on Sunday about where this street stock division is going. About 20 years ago, the questions were asked about the hobby stock division that were at Oyster Bed and Scotia Speed World and what have you, with cars getting harder to find and just where in general that division was going. So I'll put you on the hot seat with the street stock division because it's kind of gone through a little bit of a metamorphosis the last couple of years. Cars are starting to get harder to find. Where do you see this division going in 10 years? Building rules, what have you?
I know they're trying to keep it where it's at, and I think that needs to happen. At the same time, things are going to evolve. Things will always evolve. I think right now what we're driving is what the Sportsman class was, 15 years ago, probably. Maybe on exception of tire size and rim size and whatnot, but it's hard to stop evolution. It's gonna happen. I know there's some guys that are, aren't liking where the division has gone, and I'm not saying I do either, but it's bound to happen. I mean, they've evolved since they come out. I mean, it happens every year. It's just part of it, I guess. As far as in 10 years, I don't know. I know, like I say, I know the tech and the track owners, and I know they're trying to put a hold on it and keep it where it's at, and I'm perfectly okay with that. I think it's as good as it needs to be. Has it gone too far in a couple spots? Maybe, but yeah, hopefully it'll stay where it's at.
We'll make last call on social media now because I know it's lively over there. But before we go to Brandon, I see the gentleman from Eastport has joined us, and he mentioned about your chrome rims. We were showing some highlights here from a couple of seasons ago, but we had the conversation about it. It's the trucker thing. It's the chrome rims are there, but for those that don't know, why chrome rims on your race car?
I was just trying to be different, I guess. I like them. They're sporty. Yeah, I sold my last 4 black ones this spring, so it's all chrome now.
I'm sure Gerald Greenlaw and Mitch Blanchard that runs the one car at Scotia, I'm sure they'll love to hear that, and I'm sure Lonnie will too. What do you got over there, Brandon? We'll make last call on social now.
We got a bunch of stuff over here. Brent wants to say hi to Corbin and Camber for him.
One's sleeping. One's been out here peeking over the counter at me a couple of times. So.
Our good friend Buddy Munn's in here, which I think he's good buddies with a lot of the street stock guys at Gary, I think. Who else do we have in here? Jeff Rose is still here. We mentioned Drew Greenlaw, Freddie Bannister. We already answered his question about going to other tracks. Carter Greer actually just showed up, one of our iRacing guys too, Tim, and he said the chrome looks good with the blue.
Yep. Carter's dad's one of my sponsors. He's been sponsoring me for, I don't know, 5 or 6 years now, probably. Greer's Electrical, so they're good family friends.
And Buddy says one wall at the She. Is this another backstory that we don't know about?
Yeah, that was rookie year. That'd have been 2013, 14, probably. We're backing into the wall pretty hard, I guess. That was the first frame clip I had to buy.
Yeah, Tim, we're gonna have to get him to stick around after. There's a lot of backstories we need to know about.
That's one of those campfire deals or the shop deals. I think we're going to have to get back on again, because I know the shop stop deal was fun the last time we were up there. I kind of want to go off of what Carter was talking about with the paint schemes and tie in earlier what we had. You mentioned maybe not painting the car here in the next year or two and try to keep the same base, but is there any other thoughts on base schemes or base colors that crossed your mind when you were redoing the car?
Yeah, we've got a color blue that's on our transports. My dad's had 4 or 5 of that color, and my trucks are that same color blue. I'd like to do one that color sometime before I'm done, but it's kind of a light metallic-y blue. I just don't know what you'd put on it for colors to go with it. I like the fluorescence, and I don't think it would work on it. But maybe someday. That's one I think about every year that I'd like to do, but I just haven't yet, and maybe someday.
Now, I know you mentioned some of the sponsors on this race car, and I know you have a dedicated crew and a dedicated list of sponsors, and I'm going to put you on the spot. Who makes it happen for you to get to the racetrack every week?
Well, the crew, for sure. Jamie Painter, Justin McKenzie, Troy Carhart, Adam Justison. They help us out at the shop, at their shop. My buddy Brandon over the road, I've been using his tire machine, I guess, this year, and his hoist or whatever I need. He's been a big help this year, and all our sponsors. Watson's Home Hardware, Justice and Motorsports, High Rock Construction. Might have to get a picture of it so I can remember all these. But we've had the same group of sponsors for the last few years, and a lot of them all they're definitely what makes us be able to get to the racetrack each week.
Now, I've got a couple of fun ones to throw at you before we end off. But Denver, do you have anything else before we throw a couple of hard questions at Justin Cole?
No, someone already took my question. I was going to ask about the wall incident in Miramichi because I was there that night, but I guess we'll leave that for another time.
Okay, number one, is the ice machine ready to go for the first Ricky Bobby race next year?
You betcha. It's in the camper. I didn't even take it out of storage. I'm preserving it for the racetrack. We don't use it at home. That's a racetrack thing.
Okay, so that's all ready to go. And number two, are we ever going to see the return of Kelsey and the iPad?
I told her she should. We were looking back through I don't know, videos or Facebook memories or whatever. I told her she should be doing that again, but she told me I was crazy. I thought it was funny. Everybody thought it was funny, but she had kids to look after now, so.
Well, if she can get like 10 minutes to go through the pits, I think that's really all she needs on a Saturday night. A couple more before we go. Brett Roy, with the border back open, can we go to Oxford this year and bring Nelly?
I would think so. We need that minivan and Chad McGarity. Who else is with us that trip? The Greenlaws, or at least Gerald. Gerald and Drew, I think. The bag of donuts. The bag of donuts.
Is there any other story that we're missing here on that?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot. We don't have time.
And we'll leave off with this because this kind of ties into what Brent asked earlier, so we gave you a little bit of time to think about it. Is there one thing you can change about street stock racing or just racing in general? What would it be? So either that or what is going to put some fans and teams back to visit 660, whether it's the first time in a long time this year. We'll leave you with that one. What do you got?
Oh, I don't know. I know the tech has really upped the game, and that's good. We'll all fall victim to that at some point in time or another, but I think that's sparking some interest. There's always people saying, so-and-so gets away with this and so-and-so gets away with that. So when tech starts throwing cars out, it's not a bad thing. Yeah, it sucks if you're the car getting thrown out, but I think some heavy teching last year may have sparked some interest, seeing some people that pass things that people didn't think they were going to, seeing some tools that we're not used to seeing. It was good. I'd like to see a fan base come back. I don't know how to fix that. I wished I did. I'm sure nobody does, or they'd fix it. But I think it's a money thing. It's times we live in, I guess. If you ask me my opinion, going to the racetrack, taking family to the racetrack is a very affordable fun, especially if you compare it to going to a movie theater or anything like that. That's me. Maybe other people think it's expensive. I don't know what, but I think that is somewhat of an issue. And every racetrack's a business. You can't open up the front gate and let everybody go in for free. I mean, you've got to charge what you've got to charge to run the place. I totally understand that, and everybody should. But I don't know. We got to figure out how to get fans back in the stands. That's where future drivers come from. Anything we can do to interact with the kids, make the kids feel special there, get them up close with the cars, let them in the pits for a couple hours on the kids' day and stuff. That's all. That's all important stuff. But yeah, just got to get some fans back everywhere. It's not just here; it's everywhere. It sucks.
And it's definitely something we can chew on over the off season and kind of get forward in on the conversation. And I'm sure that'll be a conversation piece on one of these episodes upcoming. Yep. Justin, this has been a blast. Thank you for letting us catch up, and I'm sure we'll chat over the off season. And Gerald, I'm sure will be on here at some point doing a little bit of picking. But thank you for everything, and we'll catch up with you at some point.
All right, thanks for having me. You guys all have a good evening.
That's Justin Cole, driver, the number 38 street stock at 660. And Brandon, we'll let you go with this one because this is the quote-unquote big iRacing announcement we were going to make tonight. We are amalgamating all of our quote-unquote special events and making a winter championship for the 2021-22 season.
Yeah, it's something new to try. You don't need to run every race, but it definitely helps people come out to more of them. So it's I guess the more cars we can get, the better. It's just like real life. So it's something cool to add, and hopefully it works out, and hopefully my name's at the top of your list at the end of the year.
But you have to finish races first in order to get points. So
yeah, okay.
It's similar to what we did with the Power Performer Championship a couple of seasons ago. It's similar to what NX does with their points, similar to what the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Series does with their weekly deal. Your best 15 races are going to count towards a championship. And here's the best thing. It started last week on the Tuesday. We counted the Five Flags race. We count the TCM 300 week. But between the January, February sort of deal, we are going to have probably 30, 35 races in between. So let's say you get iRacing for Christmas and you want to be a part of this deal, you're more than welcome to hop in. You can do as many races as you want. You can do as less races as you want. If you don't want to run for points, that's fine too. Best 15 races plus the showcase. The showcase is on Thursday, April 7th, 2022 this year. And there's going to be prizes and awards announced throughout if you want to hop on board and give us a little bit of some sponsorship contingency awards to help those drivers that put on our entertainment throughout the winter season. Get in contact with us and we can make that happen for you. Just obviously with the TCM 300 this weekend, it's going to be a big little show just to kick off. And before we'll talk the 300, how about that in the second half of the show? But yeah, iRacing Winter Championship. And you can see a lot of those races with our friends at Madame TV and of course here on Facebook. But before we get going on the iRacing topic, let's switch back gears and go back to Speedway 660 and chat with the driver of the number 75 sharpshooter at 660. It's Randy Titus. Randy, welcome to the show.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being a part of this. You've had a up and down season the last couple of years, but the sharpshooter comes to the racetrack. Beautiful looking race car. I guess we'll start off the same way we did with Justin. So back at 2021, how was your season as a whole?
Well, it's kind of like a roller coaster, I guess you'd call it. Started out really good. We were on the highs. We hit the podium for our first two races. And then, of course, the old lows kicked in. And let's say I got spun out and had about 23 cars coming at me on a restart. And I said, well, they're not all going to miss me. So that was my first head on. And then the thing was race after that, I got T-boned and drove into the beach. So I guess that was a low portion. And then seemed to finish her off pretty good at the end of the season there. They got a we got a second in the Gunslinger, which I was really happy with, and going to Petty, doing the domestic race in Petty. That was an awesome, awesome race. I don't know what happened to my car, but it came to life. Had 44 real good laps before the right front tire decided it didn't want to play anymore, and I ate the wall.
The ups and downs of racing, eh?
Oh yeah.
I want to ask you about the sharpshooter division. We're kind of working backwards here, I guess, but it's really come into its own the last couple of years. And with the sharpshooter experience and the division growing, there's, 25, 30 cars on a weekly basis up there, which creates a lot of traffic on a Saturday night. But to be a part of that growth, I know you kind of got onto that growth at the very start of it and got to see this thing really expand, but how neat is it to be a part of this sharpshooter division and one of the biggest car counts in any division in Atlantic Canada?
It is an absolute blast. Scott Kinney, Brian Suddy, when they started up the sharpshooter experience, that's actually how I get into it. I went out as a volunteer just to help out, just to see this thing go off. And that afternoon, I got to jump in Brian Suddy's car, give it a try. So kind of got the bug going there. And then all of a sudden, Richard Martin had the 4-car up for sale, and God bless him, Ricky Bobby was the driving force behind that. He was my first sponsor, and he says, you buy that car. He says, I'll be your first sponsor.
And the rest is history, right?
That's his history.
What do you remember about that first race? Everybody seems to remember that first one, but getting into your first race in that sharpshooter division at a racetrack you've been around for so many years. What do you remember about that first one?
First one was just absolute excitement. Of course, being a rookie, I had to start in the back, and I was lucky I was able to kind of pick my way up through, and I got up around the top cars there with like I say, Brian Suddy and Bad Hubby and the boys up there, and the next thing you know, they were teaching me what goes on. I was kind of like pinball there for a little bit. So that was probably the baptism by fire. I would say that was the most exciting, was just getting bounced around and just trying to maintain control.
And you maintain control, you pick up those lessons, and eventually you put that car into victory lane. So from the progression from that first race all the way to that first trip to Riverview Ford Lincoln victory lane, what was the biggest takeaway before you got that checkered flag in your hand?
Lap time, seat time, pardon me. Just the seat time, talking to other drivers, picking their brains, and they're more than receptive, helping you out, learning different lines on the track. That was the biggest thing for me, to find a line that worked well for the car, and to be able to race against excuse me, BJ Gillespie when I got my first feature win, to race against him for about 17 laps, door handle to door handle, cleanly the whole way. That was a highlight.
We are live and interactive here this evening with Randy Titus, driver of the number 75 sharpshooter. Be sure to drop us a question or a comment, and we'll get it on here this evening. Keep Brandon Campbell somewhat busy over there in the Facebook chat. But that first win, you mentioned going door to door with BJ Gillespie. The wins, especially in a division this competitive, are somewhat hard to come by sometimes. So what was that feeling after you took that checkered flag and you got into Riverview Ford Lincoln victory lane?
Honestly, at first I was pretty much dumbfounded, because it was such an awesome feeling just to be there. It was almost a blur. It probably really never kicked in till I hit the tech shed, realized what had happened. I said, wow, we're actually here.
And to come in a short period of time from when you started all the way up to now, when we go to the racetrack, you're one of those drivers that we look to as a favorite to win these races every single week. How neat is that progression, especially in the short period of time that you've had in a race car?
I'm just very lucky. I've got fantastic sponsors. I got a great pit crew member in Ryan Knorr helping me out. Honestly, I feel very, very blessed to be able to just be out there racing, let alone even being thought of to come around victory lane or anywheres in that sort of thing. I was actually looking at the point standing here at the end of the season, And I was looking at the top 10, and any one of those top 10 in that point standings at the end of this year could hit victory lane easily.
The quantity of drivers is nice, but the quality, I think, as you mentioned, with your name and BJ Gillespie and Matt Martin and Daniel Adio, and list goes on and on of drivers that any one of a dozen or more could win, and especially with the rookies coming through, with the unpredictability of some of those races, how awesome is it to have that competition going in there? Obviously, you want to be on top, but how neat is it to have that competition and have to beat the best every week?
It's fantastic. If you can get into the top 10, honestly, you've accomplished something. When you got 30, 31, 32 cars out on track, you got to mind your P's and Q's. You got to know which holes to pick, which holes not to pick. Especially, you got to know your drivers, who you're coming up against, who you can trust, who you can't trust, who you really don't know what they're going to do. But again, that's just learning, and I'm still learning. I'm never going to stop learning.
It's always a work in progress. It doesn't matter what division that you're in. Denver, we've had the conversations before about the sharpshooter division and how it's grown and how good the racing is. What do you got for Randy Titus tonight?
Well, Randy, first of all, highlight of the 2021 season for you. If you could pick one moment, and you said you had some ups, some downs, what would be the one moment that stands out for you from this season?
Oh, that'd be easy. Gunslinger. Picking up that podium in the Gunslinger, that was a rush, because I mean that's our pinnacle race. So just to get to the podium, let alone get into the top 5, that would be the highlight.
Let's talk about that race and how much it's grown. I mean, I'd say arguably it's the biggest 4-cylinder race in Atlantic Canada, and it's hard to believe it was only 2 or 3 years ago that this race got started. You see well over 30 cars show up for it. Big money on the line. What does this race mean to the drivers of the sharpshooter division?
Well, as I said, that's our Daytona 500. That's one we all look forward to. Racing under the lights, that is just something that is just totally mind-blowing. It's like you're out there in your own little zone. Having that many cars on track, and like I say, minding your P's and Q's while you're out there, it's almost a game of survival till you get to the last 20 laps.
I want to ask you about points. You were 3rd place, I believe, this year. A couple years ago, you were 2nd. Is that championship something that you're going to be on the hunt to get in 2022?
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. But honestly, that's something that's a pipe dream. When you're dealing with great cars like this year, we have BJ Gillespie winning, Darren Wilcox coming 2nd, Randy Story being right behind me in 4th. I mean, great drivers. If you get a championship, you've really done something. And especially when you're dealing with that many cars, it's a pipe dream, but it's always a dream.
And it very well could become a reality. I want to ask you with the drivers in the division, because we've seen drivers moving up into street stock. Some drivers have moved up all the way up to Sportsman and so on. And then there's some drivers who have stuck around in the sharpshooter division for years. If you could pick, 1 or 2 drivers that you have the most fun racing against and some of the best drivers that you've raced against, who would they be?
Well, obviously, right off the bat, BJ Gillespie. He's at the top of his game. Another young fellow that doesn't really get the recognition that he should, because he doesn't get to race as much because of his job, is Ryan Bernard. He is a wheelman. That's another guy. He's great to race against, clean. He can move you in a heartbeat when hardly even lets you know it. Obviously, Darren Wilcox, another great, clean driver. Lots of fun to race against. Daniel Adio, another guy that's come along that we're going to have to watch out for. Jesse Madore, he's on fire. Of course, Matt Martin, you can never cancel him out. And we got a new fellow this year that he only got into the car, I think, once this year. And he's a crew member for Jesse Madore, Justin Davies. He's a guy you're going to have to watch out for next year.
Absolutely. I want to ask you about, we talked about the Gunslinger. How about Speed Weekend? The past 2 years, Speedway 660 has added Friday night racing to the card, and the sharpshooter division gets the spotlight on that night. Again, under the lights. It's the biggest weekend of the year. How cool is it to have the spotlight, not only at the Gunslinger, but then again on the Friday night show of Speed Weekend?
It's fantastic. Again, it's like our almost like our twin race to our Gunslinger. Some people say it's disappointing because we don't have the corn boil anymore, but honestly, I think it's fantastic. We have the opportunity as four-cylinder drivers to actually race potentially 3 days with the East Coast Mini Stock Tour. They didn't race on Sunday this year, but they have before. We got to race with them on Saturday because they had a limited field. So that's fantastic. We definitely get our amount of races in. Don't get me wrong. We're pretty much full on that schedule.
Before I throw it back to Tim, I want to ask you about the bucket list. Obviously Gunslinger, the championship, Speed Weekend. There's some big things at Speedway 660 on the bucket list, but beyond that, is there anything you'd like to accomplish in racing?
Well, I was kind of going through thinking about racing next year, and am I going to do it? And obviously I'm going to do it. How long I'm going to race? I kind of went through everything, and I said, well, I've got a first, I got a second, I got a third. I got a head on, I got a T-bone, I got a rollover. And I was just thinking, okay, now I've got a third in the championship. I got a second in the championship. The only thing that really sticks to my mind is just getting that last check in the box, getting that championship. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it because I'm having just too much fun.
Denver kind of alluded to it, and you kind of mentioned the East Coast Mini Stock Tour. So I kind of want to go on the sense of if the budget wasn't an issue, if the towing back and forth wasn't an issue, is there anything you'd kind of like to try out, or a racetrack you'd like to try out? Obviously, you mentioned Petty and Miramichi already being off that list, but I know you were eyeing Lake Dowsett at one point. Budget aside and restraints aside, if you could take the four-cylinder anywhere, is there anything you've got circled on your list?
Lake Dowsett, without a doubt. Actually, I was even looking at Bay Ferries. I'm going to try and send them an email, see if I can get a ferry sponsorship. If they'd sponsor me to go over and back, I'd be at Lake Dowsett in a heartbeat.
With that mini stock tour, with them allowing the more models than the Hondas, besides Lake Dowsett, is there anything that you kind of got circled? Because I know Ryan McKnight kind of dabbled at the start of the season, decided he was going to go one or two races, then ended up going with most of them and ended up in Sydney and what have you. Is there any other track with the mini stock tour going there you might want to visit?
Oh, Scotia for sure. Love to get down to Scotia. Again, with a domestic car, with running against the Hondas, I don't like being a pylon. If I can run with them, it's a lot of fun. But being outside of my class, that's the only reason I haven't gone to Scotia. Sydney, that's a stretch. But again, if the budget was there, for sure, I'd love to. Oyster Bed, yeah. That's definitely on the bucket list.
And with Scotia having that Lightning division, it might not be too far-fetched to bring the neon down. And no idea what Lawrence is thinking on rules this year, but I'm sure that'll come out sooner rather than later for the Halifax camp. We're going to go to social here. Brandon, I know social was lively for a little bit. I know we got a couple of Randy's peers that are tuned in and watching us. What do you got over there?
Yeah, a bunch of stuff on social, but I just want to add one thing about like the evolution of this class, how insane it is. And it's just one of those things where it's not like the Hondas where you can take this car to Petty and race and then you can go race at Gary tomorrow, right? And believe it or not, Dad won a race before Tim in Denver, if you believe it or not. And I believe it. It was Speed Weekend 2011, and of all the races he's been a part of, he still talks about winning that race to this day. So just to have, any mini stock race with 28 plus cars is insane. And he's always been a Honda guy, but he said, I can go racing Gary every week against the same car as me, right? So the evolution's insane. What was the record this year? Like 34 or something? So,
It was around there, yeah.
Yeah, which is insane for any car class. And it comes to what one of the Atkinsons mentioned. They said the division is like it was back in the day with the large sportsman class. So we see a lot of divisions losing the car counts, but this sharpshooter class is just going to keep growing and growing and growing.
If we get the amount of cars this winter being built that are rumored to being built, potentially we're going to break 40, and well, there's going to have to be a decision made at that point, I think.
That'd be crazy. Dylan, or Denver, I mean, could you imagine race control of 40 cars?
Last chance qualifiers would be 100% necessary.
Yikes.
I know Drew McEachran usually watches this show, and I know Dave and Jason Pickles and those guys can probably relate to it back in the Thunder on the Hill days when we used to have, when I started at Scotia, we had B mains for our Thunder class where we'd have 35 or 40 cars show up, and it's kind of dwindled off with rules, but I know they used to race Thunder on the Hill with like 70, 80 cars in the racetrack back when it started out. Brandon, it almost gives me that Scotia Speed World Thunder car feel from the mid 2000s, early 2000s, where it's growing. And you mentioned it, we don't see that growth anywhere around here, at least.
Yeah, and there's just no ceiling for this class, right? It's affordable. Well, the most affordable. I wouldn't say anything in racing is affordable, but yeah, it's definitely awesome to see. And we actually have a special guest in the chat. It's Meredith Denver. She says, hi, friends. I think she was talking to everyone except for you, but that's okay. Jason Pickles mentioned that those were the best days ever. So I don't think he's made it to Gary yet, has he?
He was. He was co-hosting with us on the June race.
You're right. Yeah, with the car, he hasn't made it.
With a car, he might have been there back in the day, but I don't think so because that would have been before the 4-cylinder class was a thing up there. So I know with the East Coast Mini Stock Tour, he was trying to get up there, but I don't think he was up there on Labor Day. So I'm sure that's on his bucket list too.
Yeah, it would have to be. Our Daniel Adio is still watching, and he says Randy's one of the most respected drivers in our class in my books. He's helped me. I've helped him. Glad to be able to run door to door with him. Props to you.
Yeah, Daniel's a fantastic guy. Him and his wife Janice, they're great people. They run Adio tire. I run Adio tires on my car. They've helped me out, and it's a back and forth thing. We all try and help each other as much as possible.
And again, that's what contributes to the class to keep growing. Jesse Leclerc's in here, and he says 40 cars at 660. Oh boy. So I mean, it's definitely possible, especially on one of those, the mini stock tour dates where anybody can run. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw 40. Oh wow, Brent just wrote the Bible. Give me a second.
Okay, well, while you read that,
Yeah.
I'll go back and do a couple of others here. Fred Bannister, how does it feel to have one of the biggest stock car counts in a long time in any division? And do you think about trying any other class or just stay where you are with the 4-cylinder class? I think we kind of covered the first half of that question, but from a you perspective, do you ever see yourself, maybe hopping into a street stock or maybe hopping into a sportsman at some point?
Yeah, not at my age. Honestly, I would love to. Oh, geez, I'd be there in a heartbeat. But no, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I enjoy the people I'm with, and I'll just keep up with this for a little bit.
Did you read the comment now?
Yeah, it was a really good comment from Brent. He says, from everyone at 660, we can't say thanks enough for all your help behind the scenes at the facility. I don't think I've ever met someone who loves to always tinker and just help everybody improve everything. So as we see, we see the racetrack side of things with you on the track, but it's starting to show that you do a lot behind the scenes for everybody also.
Oh, thanks for that, Brent. It's my passion. I love racing. There's no hiding it. I just so happen to be driving a car now, but I'm still a race fan 100%.
Yeah, for sure. And Ryan McKnight also popped in the chat and he says, love running at 660. You're always racing with somebody on that track. And then he said, congrats on the great season. You're a class act.
Ryan, another very clean driver. So much fun to race against. And when you get off the track with Ryan, it's hard not to smile because the two of us are just smiling ear to ear because we just had a great battle on the track.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what this class was made for, right? To get people into the sport and to have guys like you and Ryan, and we see Jesse in here. It just helps the sport grow a lot more. We're talking about age, and the Atkinson crew says, I'm 57 and in a Sportsman. Get into the big cars, bud.
Yeah, Richard and I, we're old Army buddies, and yeah, we're both 57s. I'll be 58 opening weekend next year, so we'll keep at her there, old musket.
So the easiest thing would be to tell Richard that you trade him for the sharpshooter for the day, and you can go race Sportsman, right?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
I think that's the easiest way to go about it. We talk about this division growing and the new drivers hopping in and drivers building race cars. For those that are sitting on the fence and seeing the huge car counts and looking like it's a blast out there, from a driver that's been around, what kind of pointers can you give somebody that's, maybe on the fence about hopping into a sharpshooter or maybe just starting out? What kind of pointers can you give them?
Well, first of all is if at all possible, contact a driver. See if you can get out there, get into their car, even if you rent the track. If we didn't have the sharpshooter experience, come on out, try it out, just give it a try. That's how I get into it. And from there on, it's just a labor of love, tinkering with your car, making it better.
I see there's a couple more comments on there. Richard said that's a good one, Tim, and he threw a couple of laughing faces on there. So I don't know if he means well or not, but maybe we started something.
Oh no, I know he's laughing. He's laughing hard.
Drew McEachran is there. We mentioned Thunder on the Hill, and Drew McEachran comes out. He wants to thank you for running with the East Coast Mini Stock Tour this year, and hopes to see you out for a few more next year. So maybe that if that sponsorship comes in from Bay Ferries, maybe we can get you down to the Showdown on the Shore.
That'd be fantastic. Drew runs a great program. I really enjoyed being in his drivers meeting. He put it right clear as to how he runs the show, and I think he ran a fantastic show.
So looking forward here to the 2022 season, you mentioned the championship. Give us a little foreshadow on what you think is going to happen in this 2022 season. And I guess we'll go one step further. And I know Brennan mentioned it to Justin Cole, and he was still kind of on the fence thinking about the answer at the end of his interview. But what do we need to do to bring more fans, more drivers, maybe some new faces into the gates at 660 in 2022?
Boys, I don't know. We've had this conversation with Brent quite a few times, and I got to give credit to the track. They're doing about everything they can possibly do. And again, as Justin said earlier, you have to be able to charge at the gate. You can't just let everybody walk through the gate for nothing. So it has to be a break-even business at the minimum. So we're trying everything. We're trying the Fan Appreciation Day, the Kids Day. We've gone out a few times with Brent to different little impromptu car shows just to show off the cars, to try and generate some interest. But the answer to the question, I don't know, because if I knew the answer, we'd already be doing it.
Absolutely. We'll make last call on social media now. So if you have any questions or comments for Randy, drop them down below. Mr. Langell, are you still with us?
I'm always here. What are you talking about?
Well, I don't know if you walked away or anything else, because if we want to roll that back from last week, I think we did have a moment there. I just wanted to make sure you were here. What do you got for Randy?
I'm just preparing a morning radio show I have to do tomorrow. So I'm multitasking here, but listening to this great conversation.
I will tell you that I will be asleep during your morning show because I've slept in the last couple of days, but continue.
You need to change that. Everyone needs to tune in. Country 100.7, 6 a.m., sharp and early tomorrow. Randy, it's good to have you on here. Thank you for your service, by the way. Just passing Remembrance Day. I saw you shared a couple of photos last week. And, I was wondering about your thoughts on the East Coast Mini Stock Tour race that you participated in at 660, where we had Ryan McKnight, one of the New Brunswickers, go against one of the best, Dave Matthews. And then it was pretty much another sharpshooter race there. Was it kind of like a Le Mans race where it was two different classes going at it in the same time just because of the differences of the cars, do you think?
Yeah, very good analogy, 100% on that one. And that's what it felt like. once we got strung out, and of course the East Coast Mini Stock Tour, they started stringing out and getting away. The biggest thing for me was keeping an eye on my mirrors, just getting the heck out of their way so they could run their race at the same time trying to run my race.
Did you make any changes to the car to maybe help the performance, or were there anything you had to change because of the East Coast Mini Stock Tour rules?
Actually, didn't have to change anything. I could have lightened my car up a ton, but I chose to run what I had just because I liked the way the car felt. And honestly, it worked for me. And that's exactly what I left in the car when I went up to Petty for the domestic race up there. And the car felt fantastic.
For someone that may not understand that, Randy, what does that exactly mean, the domestic, where the 660 cars went up to Petty that one weekend to have a little race there?
Well, domestics are your North American cars where you've got your Chevys, your Fords, your Dodges. We're allowing a couple other odd cars in, like Ryan McKnight's Toyota, with a few rule changes. He was allowed to run with us. Anything else is European, where they got your Hondas, your Acuras. I'm not sure if they've got any Mitsubishis or not in that class, but on average, you're looking at about roughly a second a lap that they're faster than the domestic class. So that's the biggest thing right there, is just how quickly they can get around the track compared to the domestics.
How did you find your number 75 at Petty compared to 660, the home track?
I found it handled way better at Petty than it did at our track. It was just the weight distribution that I had to do for this year for 660. For some reason, Petty liked it. It must have been the banking, and I was able to run a lot harder than I've ever run. And honestly, I think I ran the fastest I've ever run in that car at Petty.
Do you know if Petty are going to do a few more of those domestic races, or is that we won't know until we get there kind of deal?
I was actually talking to Wayne at the end of the year there after that race, and his plan is to run a domestic division next year.
Oh, cool. Okay. Another place to play.
Yeah, we got her.
Absolutely. I see a couple more comments rolling in on social media. Storm & Ford says you needed a better right front at Petty.
Yeah, thank God for Storm & Ford. I went up to Petty with no pit crew. So I have to thank Norm there. I have to thank him, Ron Ankle, Jesse Somerville, Timothy Holman. All four of them came running. I was getting ready to unbuckle. They come out of nowhere and they got me a right front tire back on it. And unbeknownst to me, when I ate the wall, I also took the rad out. But I got out there for a few more laps. Like I said, there was only 6 laps left when I hit the wall. So no, I got to thank them very much.
And by the way, Storm & Ford did say when we were talking about the iRacing deal a little bit earlier about street stocks, and I know me and Brandon have talked about that. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But before we go to social media for the final time, I kind of want to tie this all together. When we talk about the sharpshooter division being, it's huge in quantity. The quality of racing is great, but it's also a family atmosphere. And you just kind of touched on it, but not only in the pits, but also throughout. I know you're a part of the Speedway 660 City per se that pops up every summer at the racetrack. What's for those that might not know, what's the community like with the little town that pops up pretty much every summer?
We've got a fantastic crew out there, campers, approximately 50, 60 campers that stay regular for the summer. We'll all show up anywhere between, depending on the weather, be Thursday, Friday night. We're always having bonfires. Everybody's strolling around, having great conversations and laughs and joking about last weekend and joking about the coming weekend. And if you've never been a part of it, I highly recommend you bring your trailer out to any one of the races and be a part of a weekend at Speedway 660. I think you'll want to come back.
And hail Randy down because he'll drive you around. He did for me. That's I was
going to mention that, Dylan. What was your first experience? You ended up meeting Randy, right?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was pretty cool, meeting him in person. I mean, you see the online stuff and chit chat here and there. And after he was up in the booth for a little bit during that first night, and then we were walking, and this guy came around the corner in a golf cart, and I was thinking, I think I recognize who that is. Maybe I had a couple of adult beverages into me, and it was, a decent amount, sure. It was Speed Weekend, but Randy was my chauffeur for a little bit. He was driving me around, trying to find you guys, and it was cool, and just the whole atmosphere there, where we walked up to I don't know how many campsites and just would shoot the breeze. Hey, did you enjoy the racing? We talk racing. Okay, see you later, and then walk down a few more trailers. My perspective has certainly changed. I mean, that is a weekend, and not just Speed Weekend, from what I can tell as well. The atmosphere is very family friendly, and just a good time. So if you've been on the fence about going to 660, mark it on your calendar in 2022.
And make a weekend of it at the end
100%.
of the day. Yeah, it's all about the people that are there, and it's the people that make the racing industry. And it doesn't matter where you go, but that atmosphere at 660 can't be beat, and it's one of the reasons why I keep coming back when my schedule permits. Mr. Campbell, social media, anything else you see on there before we get ready to tie this one off?
It looks like that's Glenn Knott, right? Burn Enterprises.
Yep.
He says, hi, Randy from BC. So again, I still don't know why he's there, but he's in BC and he's watching.
Yeah, he's out on a visit there right now. Glenn's probably one of my biggest supporters. He's probably my biggest cheerleader, because when it comes to racing, there's nobody that knows racing any more than Glenn Knott at 660. And when he speaks to me about what I'm doing on the track, I listen.
Yeah, a guy that's been around for a while. And I mean, we could almost say you're a veteran in the sharpshooter class now.
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
Carter Greer's in here, and he said the track's doing a good job at generating interest. That's why he's starting his racing career in the straight stock. So that's a guy that we'll look forward to seeing. And Drew McEachern says you need to come try Riverside.
I didn't even know they ran Riverside, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, they're usually there once a year, Tim, maybe twice sometimes.
I know with the pandemic, it kind of cut our races from what is usually two. Usually it's an August and a September date down to what was one. And then with the 250 getting axed, it ended up being 0. And hopefully at least it's more predictable schedule wise this year. And maybe we get back to those 2 races. But Randy, definitely a racetrack that you'd have to get out and try is Riverside International Speedway.
Oh, for sure. I didn't even know. Bristol in the north.
I think that's all we have.
Yeah, I think that's all we have over there. Randy, I want to give you an opportunity to thank your sponsors. You got a couple of really dedicated crew members that help you out to get to the racetrack every week. Who makes that for you?
Well, first and foremost, I got to thank Fredericton Gun Shop for sponsoring our division. They don't get enough credit. I would say probably 90% of the time, if I ever make it to the podium, I forget them. So Fredericton Gun Shop, thank you. I want to say thank you to my wife for allowing me to do what I love. Ryan Orr is my pit crew member. If I didn't have him, I wouldn't even come close to have been doing as well as I have. So thank you to Ryan. Sunbury Towing, Electric Motor Service, Homestar, Huff and Puff Insulation, Fairleigh Sports Bar, Jody MacArthur, real good friend of mine, Woodside Trucking, Modern Ventures, and as I alluded to earlier, Adio Tire, Daniel Adio and his wife Janice.
Randy, this has been great catching up. Look forward to chatting with you over the winter, and look forward to that 2022 season to see that number 75 on the racetrack.
Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you having me on here, and hopefully, God willing, we'll be able to get a banquet in, and we'll see you then.
Hope so. That's Randy Titus, driver of the number 75 sharpshooter at Speedway 660, and we'll start to transition. We mentioned the TCM 300 a little bit earlier on, and this so far, Brandon, is the grid that is going to be on the racetrack on Friday evening beginning at 9 p.m. Eastern. Where is your name?
Well, I guess it's kind of like the Amber McDonald situation. You must have spelt the name incorrectly or something, and mine's not there. But you know whose is?
Whose is?
Brent Roy.
Yeah, Brent is watching, by the way. So congratulations to Brent. Mustered a 5th place finish last night. If you go back and watch the race on Canadian TV, and I know Paul is with us too, that finish to that one was kind of wild. I know, Brandon, you called it. Paul called it as well. Thomas Axum was about 5 feet before the start finish line to take the white before the final caution flag flew, which put us into a green white checker situation. But Paul, I know you've seen some sim racing in your day. That was a pretty good show the last couple of nights.
Yeah, phenomenal show the past few nights. The rkmsetupshop.com qualifying nights 1 and 2 for the TCM 300 this Friday. Really excited. We've done some sim racing and some iRacing here in the winter months through the pandemic, and it kind of lasted. We're working on 2 years now, coming up this March. So to come from that very first Smashed Potatoes figure 8 race that we found out just how colorful Tim Terry's language can be on air.
That was a figure 8 race, by the way.
To which you can watch on Madane TV's YouTube page. You just have to sort back just a little bit, but to go from there to where we are now is pretty phenomenal. We had a lot of fans tuned in all across the world, really, and it's been pretty cool to watch this sim racing thing kind of grow and prosper.
Absolutely, and you look at the list that's on there, and Brandon, I think if we look at the names that aren't on there right now, Tanton Woolridge and Wally Wilson kind of had a little bit of a set 2 last night late in the race. Dustin Momberket got put behind the 8 ball late in his qualifier. Ricky Arbo had a great run going, and early in the race ended up being behind with a little bit of damage. So last chance qualifier is tomorrow night, and Brandon, there's some big names that have to come through that LCQ.
Well, there's a big name. I wouldn't say some. There's one, and that would be Dustin Momberket. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, there's a bunch of really good guys that need to make it, and I think 5 make it through.
Yeah, 5 make it through. Plus, we have a promoter's option that we'll have to sit back and take a little look at. I think there's 34 names that are eligible, and one name that I talked to earlier, Paul, he's not sure if he's going to be able to make it. He did sign up for the race, though, is the Sim 500 Trans Service Cup Series champion, Josh Parker. So he was one of those last year that made it through his heat race, did not make it to the feature itself, had some work to do, or had some partying to do, I think, on the Friday night. So that's that ended up putting him out. But if Josh Parker can come from the back of the field, Paul, I think that'll be a story in itself.
Yeah, 100%. We saw Josh. He actually won the race last Monday night on Vidane TV in the Sim 500 Trans Service Cup Series to win that championship, going up against Brian Macklin, Kevin King, and the other guy that was in the top 4 that I can't remember his name for some reason, Daniel Falkingham, up in the northeastern part of the country.
He's going to get you for that one.
Nailed it. First try, second try, maybe. But to see Josh Parker kind of rule 2 worlds, because he does a lot of iRacing, he does a lot of NASCAR Heat 5 on the Xbox for Joe Gibbs Racing, so if he can get in between his gym schedule and his party schedule, we might see a little Josh Parker tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's we'll see what he can do to come through the LCQ. There's 34 that are eligible. We'll see how many show up tomorrow night, 125 laps. That is not broadcast, but you'll be able to watch these guys go at it. $600 plus purse on Friday night on Vidane TV, on the Tim's Corner Facebook page. And it's going to be a show. You got some really good names there. Obviously, Ryan Kuhn, Thomas Axum are going to be big. There's a pole challenge for that race as well. We'll see if they accept it. This is going to be big, and it all ties into that championship that we announced a little bit earlier on this evening. We are still waiting on Travis Roma, so we'll come back to the 3 box for the moment and wait to see if Travis can get his Zoom connected. Is what we're waiting on right now. So we don't have Mr. Roma here as of yet, but boys. It was great to catch up with those 660 guys. That sharpshooter division continues to grow, and it gives me that vibe. And we mentioned it when we were talking to Randy of the Thunder on the Hill days at Scotia. I know you guys are a little young, but Drew McEachran and Jason Pickles, and I'm sure a few others are still watching that can relate to those days where you had B features and, the standing starts 3 wide back in the early days. And I can't wait to see what the sharpshooter class looks like in 2022. And I think Randy had mentioned it. B features might be on the horizon.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. We've seen that class. It wasn't that long ago where, 10 cars was a good night for the sharpshooter class. And it's kind of one of those deals where it ebbed and flowed, just like all classes. But the ebbs and flows were a lot bigger. I think there's a couple years in the 20s, a couple years in the low teens, and now it's just exploded. And it's pretty phenomenal to see. And the best part about it is that some of these guys are going to start to move up. And that's going to fill into your street stock classes. That's going to fill into your sportsman classes. And, the ladder system in racing is so critical to the health of the sport. And, it all starts with the entry-level division at Speedway 660. That's their entry-level division. And then you're going to have some guys that are going to stick in that class. So it really creates a really cool dynamic and makes for some fun racing.
I think it creates that little vibe too, Dylan, where somebody that does not have a race car can get into a race car for an affordable amount and have some fun and go racing. For those that might not have a racing background, can hop into it. I think of Slippery, Mr. Mitten, that I met on Speed Weekend, one of Bob Calhoun's friends. That we got to see Bob race and got into a race car and had some fun this year, and he'll be back next year. He's already talking to me on Speed Weekend about doing something new with his paint scheme. So I think it brings that element in there of drivers that might not be accustomed to the sim rate or the racing community that are going to hop in and go racing for the first time.
I know the thing that appealed to me when I was a kid, the class I always loved watching at Scotia Speed World was the Hondas and the old hobby stocks. I remember catching an old hobby stock race back in the day. And really those entry-level classes are very, very important. We have Bomber Division at Speedway Miramichi now where it's affordable. And now the Sharpshooters where, a little bit more money than a Bomber, but still relatively affordable. And at Sydney Speedway, they're trying to get that V6 Bomber Division to get up and running. And Tim, you can attest to it. That Bomber race at Sydney that weekend was phenomenal with 3 cars going for the win there. So hopefully in the near future, we can get some other tracks in Nova Scotia or maybe a few more in New Brunswick or more drivers to hop on to get a little more entry level and more affordable racing, because it's not cheap either way. You can say the same thing for hockey. If you're signing your kid up for hockey, you're spending hundreds of dollars, if not thousands every year. Nothing's really cheap anymore. So to find something that's a little more affordable will certainly help in the long run.
I think of Adam in that V6 Thunder Division that they had at Sydney, that last race of the season where new driver getting into the series, got the fires, you got the safety gear, had brake issues in the car, but still got out there for the feature and had an absolute blast. And that's what it's all about, having fun in this sport. We are going to try to connect with our next guest. And Jesse Leclerc said last call for alcohol in the chat. I have a feeling that we're going to get one here. So be sure to, if you haven't filled up your glass yet or your drink, to be sure to do it here. We're going to see if we can't connect with the driver of the number 38 RBR late model. Travis, we're going to get you to turn your camera the opposite way there so we can see the full side there. We're still connecting to audio. We do have Travis Roma though getting ready here. Travis, you got us?
Yeah, just.
Okay, perfect. Turn your camera the other way so we can get the full shot in there.
All right, I got a jank setup on the go
here. Okay. Let's see what there we go. It's been a while. Welcome to the show. Good to have you.
Thanks.
I know the season wasn't what you guys want to do, but part-time season, got a couple of races in. I know it necessarily really didn't go the way you want it to, but how'd the season go?
Well, it wasn't much of a season. We made it out for 2 races, and to say that Petty was not an embarrassment would be a lie. We sort of came back strong, or like almost not, I wouldn't say super strong, but sort of back to our roots at Scotia, but that ended in disaster too. We tore every corner off the car, and it just goes to show that when you let us sit in the trailer for a couple of years and try and pull it out for a few races, it doesn't go as planned all the time.
No, absolutely not. And I think you mentioned to me when I rolled into the trailer at Scotia, when we were trying to get you guys on the racetrack for practice for the AJK race, I said, you guys don't need practice. I think it was either you or Chris said, did you see what we did at Petty last week? So I guess it wasn't a great showing, but it was your first race of the season either way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just had hopes and dreams that we could pull it out, and just like we put it away, and that wasn't the case. It was just a whole big learning curve. We basically showed up unprepared for any challenges we were going to face. And it just, I don't know, nothing just seemed to come together. We still had a wicked time. We still had a good weekend. Made the best of it, but Saturday was frustrating to say the least.
Now, getting past the season, obviously the season kind of started out here with a little bit of a thrash, knowing that the Classic was on the schedule and we were told it was going to be postponed, and then all of a sudden they told us on Tuesday, oh, by the way, we're running the Shriners Classic. So I know you guys missed that one out, but and we had the clip at the top of the show. It's a big race. We didn't get a 100-lapper in here this season, but you guys did get to run the AJK. So what was that like being a part of that race with some extra cars in, no points on the line, big race feel? What was it like to be a part of the AJK?
Oh, it was awesome. We didn't really know too much about it before we went to Petty. We were waiting in line up to get our tires at Petty, and just 1 second.
Shut up.
I got the boys in the shop.
Do they at least have a drink in their hand?
we got Lewis, Chris, Todd, and Craig. So anyway, we're down here hanging out as usual, but no, but we didn't know anything about the race Pete was putting on before we went to Petty, and then we were talking to him in tire lineup, and that was kind of we were struggling so much at Petty during the day that because of the conversations we had with Pete, we threw something at it right before the feature, but we had our mind made up that as soon as we went a lap down, we were going to basically start and park it. We were just too far off to be even remotely competitive. So it was exciting to know that we saved the car. We got out of Petty unscathed, which we didn't do before. So it was good to know that we saved the car to bring that race, and it meant a lot to be there for them guys. So and it was a good showing. So.
And you mentioned the one thing, you did make it through practice at Petty, right? So that was the first check mark off the list.
Yeah, we didn't have to rebuild the rear of the car after half a lap. That was a frustrating thing, but stuff happens, and it happens quick. And after turning a few laps at Petty, I can really see how it happens quick there. You're going into the corners blind. I feel like compared to Scotia seems to have longer sweeping turns than Petty. It's pretty tight and quick, so I can see how it happens quick.
Absolutely. We are live and interactive with Travis Roma and the RBR boys. Be sure to drop us a question or a comment on social. We'll get Brandon to it. I see there's one already there, so Brandon, I'll take care of this. Brent Roy wants to know when the 38 cars go into 660.
I don't know if you'll ever see this 38 car in 660, to be honest. When we go, we want to be competitive, and I think for this off season, maybe later in the off season, if we can get it in and refresh the car that we had it, 4 seasons ago or so. When the last year we ran the full year, we really had it dialed in. Chris had it dialed in. We had new gear on it, and now running on older gear, you can really tell the difference. So we need to get it updated and stuff before we really commit to doing anything.
Danny wants to know, will we ever see the 38 again? Because I know you guys did a couple of races. Did he not even come to the shop tonight?
No, he ditched us. He goes to bed early. He can't handle late nights. He doesn't like to have a few puffs on Wednesday nights. A lot of guys, yeah. He didn't have a real good showing on for the TCM 300s. Maybe he should park his machine too.
You know what? He did about as many laps as Brandon Campbell did on Monday night. So I think they're about even.
You guys suck. I don't know why I show up to this.
He and he practiced all off season for her too.
But just think, it's a long winter. We will actually maybe we'll have to get Danny to do the next car and track combination. Maybe that'll help him a little bit.
Yes, 100%. You know what, Tim? He's gonna be happy that you even know who he is.
hey, I wasn't okay, well maybe he wasn't. I haven't got, we transferred the top 10. It really didn't matter if we finished 11th on back, right?
Yeah. No, we're that's one thing though I will be getting back into here fairly soon. We're just I tore a race car down for that too, and we're in a rebuilding process. Chris is building one here too in the shop that's pretty impressive. I'll show you here in a little bit.
and Craig did finish in the top 10 in his qualifiers, so congratulations to him, right?
Craig's here. Yeah, he had a good showing. He threw away that 4th place run. But, Frank got him there, but the better man got him.
one row on the starting group. We go green on Friday night, right?
Yeah, I'm actually bummed I'm not a part of it, but I'll probably be watching it. So
Don't worry, I'm not either.
Says the guy that can't get through the last chance qualifier, right, Brandon?
Right.
At least Danny's got one spot tomorrow night.
Exactly.
I want to kind of go back to what Danny was kind of alluding to, though. What you mentioned, kind of refreshing the car and trying to get everything ready for 22. But what's the plan? We're going to see you a couple of more times. Obviously, schedules aren't out yet, so we really don't know that either. But sitting here having a couple of pops on a Wednesday night before we even get to Christmas, what's the plan for 22?
Well, we didn't really have any plan at all. Our running usually is based around all the guys getting together and wanting to do it. You know, if one or two of us want to do it, then I don't know, it's not as fun. So when Craig started talking about this Sportsman Super Series or whatever he's trying to put on here, Chris actually, I was thinking it, Chris mentioned it. It would be a good deal for a team like ours where we don't have to show up every single week. And it's fun to travel around a little bit and just run a shorter series. So, and it also gives you something to run for too. I mean, it was great not running for points, but running for points kept us competitive. So we'll see how that plays out. We missed the meeting there. So, we'll see how it plays out. And once we hear more details, and we'll kind of base it off that, but we will get the car refreshed and do a limited schedule at least.
We kind of sat at that shop stop and we kind of, solved all of the world's problems. And we were at the point where Scotia was kind of at that car count of, 12-ish cars on a weekly basis. And then the pandemic hit and kind of wiped a bunch of stuff out. And we come back in 21 and we've got, 16, 18, 20 cars on a Friday night. What do you think of the division, the way it's gone in the last couple of years? And where do you think it goes in Halifax?
We haven't been around enough to really throw a valid opinion on that, but it didn't look good for the division when we decided to stop running full time. And obviously we didn't help with that matter either, but at some point, getting along in the shop and having fun doing it kind of made priority over, just being there every Friday night. So that was a decision for us to make, and I'm sure a lot of teams are in the same situation. But this, just following what we were following, it looks like it's picking up pretty strong again. So, I mean, I want to say promising as long as the track stays open and they keep doing what they're doing. I mean, there'll be some, little changes that we'd like to see happen and stuff like that, but that's just nitpicking. So Scotia's a wicked facility when you really look at the tracks that are around here. Everything about it. So, obviously it's good to see the cars back out, and it's good to get, I watched Sheldon Bremerton running when we were, kids. So to see guys like that coming back and building cars, and, I'm sure there's going to be more of them, and, lots of guys building into the class. So I think it's going to be a really competitive class, to be honest. So we would like to get back, and get back in form again.
I want to bring Denver in here before we get too carried away, because Denver, you got your first opportunity to see a Car Star Weekly Racing Series show here this season. What did you think, and what do you got for Travis tonight?
Well, Tim, the thing that stands out, like you said, is the Sportsman division and the competitiveness of it and the car counts. I mean, to have that many cars on a weekly basis on a Friday night at that is huge, and all around great shows at Scotia Friday night. Travis, I want to ask you about, I believe, and I might be wrong, but you got to race at down in Yarmouth at Lake Doucet once upon a time, I believe. Did you not?
Yeah, we'll be back too. That was we had absolutely nothing critical to say about that whole weekend. Right from the time we left the shop here to the time we got back, we just had a wicked time. The people were amazing down there. They welcomed us, really good. So. And it didn't help, or it helped that we unloaded with a pretty decent piece. So it made it fun that way too. So we had a good run with Steve McPhee. We ran on his bumper for 100 laps, but just couldn't get him. I had one opportunity, and looking back on it, probably should have stayed in it on the bottom, but didn't. And that was the last chance we had. So, but it was a wicked run, and even Steve invited us to his cottage afterwards. We didn't end up going, but it would have been a good time. We were just too far away where we were staying, so we'll definitely be back there. Yeah.
What's your favorite track to run? It seems like wherever you go somewhere, depending on the track, it's either feast or famine. You either go and you're competitive and run real well, or it goes to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah, I mean, I like Scotia just because I feel, if we go prepared, I feel like we have a super
trackers.
Yeah, we're flat trackers. we're I feel like we run really well there when we're prepared to be there. If everything works out. I never got a chance, obviously, to run Shediac when it was in its prime, but even the way it sits, I do like how it's easy to burn it up there. There is a lot of throttle control that you don't see at other tracks at Shediac. You're never really, especially down the backstretch, you're never really you are flat-footed, but not flat-footed out of the corner. So I do like that. Kind of makes it feel a little more racy. Late is sad, or who said, however you say it. Those said. That was super fun. You're carrying crazy speed down the backstretch, and then into that bank turn that almost has like a double apex in it. So I would say the only track, and what are we going on here now? 1 second there. The only track that I would say that left a bad taste in my mouth was Petty, but even being back there and getting to turn some clean laps there, that's a wicked facility too, and what Wayne and them did with it is amazing. And I think once we can get in the groove there and know what to go with, we'll really have a good time there too. So we ran Annie Ganesh, but we were just getting our feet wet then, so I have no comment on that.
Before I throw it back to Tim, I want to kind of ask you about scheduling, because you said, you mentioned that the Maritime Sportsman series that appears to be getting off the ground. You see big races popping up, the 5K race at Petty, and I think Wayne and Ellen have announced a couple more big races with big money on the line next year. Where do you see the sport in the Maritimes going in terms of scheduling with the Sportsman division? And, what would you like to see, I guess?
Well, I'd like to see not double booked events. If they're going to put on big shows like that, obviously you want to be there. They're going to draw a big crowd, but you also hate to see them pull away from smaller shows too. We want to get, we say it every year, but we really want to get to Cape Breton. That track looks like that's our jam there. So we'd like to get there. It would suck to have, a 5K race at Petty the same weekend as that. I'm sure they're working together. That's not going to happen. As long as they keep putting on big shows, it's going to keep getting guys to bring their cars out, and you never know. You might not have the fastest piece, but you don't know how it's going to end up in the end of the night. So you got to be there at the end.
Tim, I don't know if you saw Meredith's message in the group, but she says it's rowdy. She likes it.
Yeah, she's actually on the Zoom call too, so she's actually a part of this tonight. But
I'm here. I'm just listening and taking it all in.
Oh, okay.
She made an appearance.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been here for a while, but no one really noticed.
Don't worry, I've been here the whole night and nobody's really noticed. So.
But that's you.
Exactly.
That's to be expected.
I want to ask about one of your crew members, though, Travis, because we talk about these long hauls, and I know Brad has been a part of the long hauls on the mini stock tour, but where's Brad tonight?
I don't know. Danny goes to bed early. Brad goes to bed even earlier. He has early mornings. I think he gets up at 4 o'clock to go to work or something. So
Did you guys cut the Twisted Teas out of the budget or something?
No, they've never been in the budget. He's the only one that drinks them. It's beer and rum, no Twisted Teas.
I don't have the photo of him in Sydney, but I think the last time he was in Sydney, I don't think he remembers much about the Sunday of the doubleheader.
Brand's a good. Actually, I'd say he's a bad influence. The most hungover I've been in 38 years is with Brad Hayes in the center of Annie Ganesh. That was on a Friday morning. That was from a Thursday night bus.
Was that the Thursday night party that I crashed that year? Because I think there was one of them that you guys were feeling at Thursday night after the party.
Yeah, we were. Oh man, that pretty much killed the rest of the weekend. But Thursday night's the night down there.
Absolutely. I want to get back, and with something off we touched off on the top of the show when we did the shop stop. We asked about the 38 lap sports and features. We're still doing 38 lap sports and features. The numbers on the side of the car. It's the RBR legacy. How neat is it to still have 38 lap features on Friday nights?
Oh man, it's especially since it's one thing if you're there every week and they want to keep it going, but the fact that we haven't been there every week or even in a few years, it's amazing that they're still doing that. It seems to be a decent length race, so it seems to work out good that way. It gives you enough time to get through the field if you have to, and it's great that they're paying tribute like that. Man, I'm having technical difficulties here.
That's good. At least we're on B-roll. You can fix that right now. But looking, obviously the pit stall is still there, but you guys were on the opposite end this year. You were still close to the pit stall where you guys usually work. But the division out there, you said you've mentioned you've seen some of those races, but Pete Miller's still out there. Devin Smith is still out there. Alex Johnson had one hell of a year. We got to see Aaron Bootleer come back this year. Darren Wallage, you mentioned Sheldon Pemberton. The competition out there, give us a little bit of a synopsis of what you've seen in the limited appearances you've seen at Scotia this year.
Well, I think obviously Alex had really strong runs when we were there racing full time. But I would say that's the one that stood out to me the most looking from the outside in as far as consistency and putting it together. He got that thing dialed in. I know he throws a lot of credit to Rusty and stuff, but it's like anything, it's a whole team effort. So to see those guys having solid runs like that, and the car looks amazing. It looks amazing on a run on the track. So to see that all come together is pretty impressive. So hopefully you can, we won't be back for a full season. Otherwise we'd be saying, hopefully we can get a championship, but the next guy in line, I'd love to see Alex pull it off. So.
But at least get yourself a couple of wins when you get back to the racetrack.
Yeah. We'll shoot for that. Yeah, we're always shooting for wins.
We'll make last call on social media now. I know Paul's got a race to get to here in about 5 or 6 minutes, and we don't want to keep Danny more awake than he needs to because he needs to run that LCQ out there tomorrow night. But Dylan Langell, what do you got for Travis and the boys?
Travis and boys, are you guys taking happy pills? Like, how are you guys so cheery here?
What's a happy pill?
Yeah, you have to be. There's no point in not being happy. It's a waste of time not to be happy.
I'll ask you one question here, Travis, because you did a lot of iRacing the past couple of years of the pandemic. What do you expect from some of these big TCM events, including the 300 coming up in a few nights?
A lot of cautions. I'm telling you, I did not have this happy face on a lot of nights running your events. But it's fun to it's fun. No, it's fun to do. Honestly, with the lineup that they have, I'm looking forward to watching it because once it gets sorted out, I think there's going to be some really good racing. So I mean, we watch it down at the shop whenever there's big events too, just like we run watch the snowball or anything else. So to say it's not fun to watch and competitive would be a lie, but I think it'd be good racing, but I think it's going to take a while to get weeded out, especially at the bull ring. So we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be a long race.
Do you have your iRacing rig in where you are there?
I don't, but Chris is putting one together that he was hoping to have ready for the last chance. And judging by the beers, I don't think it's going to happen. But I'll take you on a little tour here. If I can flip this around. Oh.
Well, he flipped it around.
What can we do here? Here we go. There's a spotter man from Petty. Chris, Craig. Here's what he got for his setup here. He's building. This is just all mock-up or wherever he's building it off of. But he just got a direct drive and got the wheel all geared up, and he's building his own hydraulic setup.
Hold on here. Paul's having a technical difficulty here.
Okay.
We're all having technical difficulties today. You mentioned it and it goes the other way. Paul, what are we doing here? Hold on. Wait.
I think Travis broke everything.
You can explain it.
I break everything. I had to update right when I was loading onto this thing.
Yeah. There. Okay. Hold on. I think we got it. Maybe.
You got it?
No, that's iRacing. That's for 5 minutes down the road here, Paul. Come on, one more. And maybe, potentially, most potential. There we go.
iRacing,
now go. Now, yeah, we're good now.
All right, and we're live.
Yeah, you got a brand new direct drive that he just got in. And he bought a couple pedals, Joe's throttle pedal and a Willwood brake pedal, and built a hydraulic setup for it. Did I just go dead?
No, you're good now.
Okay. Anyway, I don't know if you guys can get a good shot of it or make sense of it, but this is all going to be mounted into a rig. He just used the wood to build it off of for mock-up, so.
We're a virtual race shop now.
Yeah, there's more money into this than there is into a race car in the last 4 years.
So what you need to do is you need to call Keegan to get that piece together for the LCQ tomorrow night, right?
Yeah, exactly. He had a good run. It was good to see a local guy run that. You know what I mean? I mean, if you're not following it, then I guess you don't really understand, how cool it is to have that happen. But for guys who are in the racing world or in the sim world, it's pretty impressive.
Absolutely. It's always great to see Keegan and Dylan do well. And it just goes to show all the work that they put into it. We'll make last call on social media. We've got a couple of more minutes left here before we shut the show down for the evening, and probably have a couple of more drinks before we're done. Carter Greer does say, not a question, but it's always fun getting on iRacing and running with Travis and the guys. And he apologized to Danny about the Bristol 333 last year. I don't remember I do remember what happened this week, but I don't remember what happened at the 333. But I'm sure Danny will mention it in the chat, or mention it potentially tomorrow night when he drives through the LCQ field, right?
Danny doesn't forget.
Oh, I'm in his bad books. This ain't good. Oh no.
What did you do?
What didn't I do?
That Jason Morash is watching us. Good job, guys. Always good to have a little bit of fun. Danny says most likely it was my fault. Well, maybe it was. I'm not sure. It's been a long while. I know the 333 is coming back this year, though. So Danny can get practicing at Bristol now, right?
Yeah. Are you having a full series, or is it going to be all special events?
It's going to be Did you see the first half of the show tonight?
No.
Okay, so Paul, before we go, throw the graphic back up about the iRacing Championship. So what we're doing the special events deal, but it's tied into a championship. So if you're watching on the other end, you can see it now. So best 15 races are going to count towards a championship, plus the All-Star Showcase. We're going to work and do a little bit of prize money and what have you, maybe a couple of trophies or whatever to the top drivers. But no and yes, Brandon can kind of allude to it. I'm not sure what my plan is. I think he's planning on going to Florida sometime. Speed Weeks, I'm planning on going to Speed Weeks as long as this COVID deal takes a break. So that's the plan for now, subject to change. But there is a points championship to chase. But the great thing is you can get it after Christmas or whenever, Chris gets his setup built and still hop in and still run for a championship, quote unquote. So
hey Tim.
What?
We should call this the Travis Roma series. You don't have to show up, but it's kind of cool when you do.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I appreciate the compliment. I don't get many of them down here.
How long did it take you to think of that, Brandon?
All night.
all night.
I thought about it before he even showed up.
We're running a little low on time because Paul's got to get to a race here in about 5 minutes or so. So Travis, give you an opportunity to quickly thank again those guys in the room, because I know they don't hear their name enough, and then the other guys that are sleeping, and sponsors and marketing partners in the race car.
Yeah, we got Lewis, Todd, Chris, obviously the car chief, and Craig down here, who we inherited from the 37 team. That's Brentley's cousin. I don't know if he's gonna be happy, but we have like Danny and Brad and our buddy Chris Lambert, who's been unreal help throughout the years, and sponsors. This year we the two races we ran, we had JPP Construction, our buddy Jamie. He got us some brakes for it, and we got a set of tires from Sammy Kaiser, who is Chris's employer. In the past, we had wicked sponsors too, like Leading Edge and Riser Fab, and lots of guys that we couldn't do it without. So we'll see what this year brings, and who we're going to talk to and make some partners with, and go from there.
And grab some checker flags along the way too, right?
100%.
This has been great, Travis. Thanks for joining us. We're running low on time. Want to thank all our guests this evening. Obviously, Randy Titus, and of course, Justin Cole at the start of the evening. Thanks to Denver, Dylan, Meredith is here somewhere, apparently. And of course, Brandon. My name is Tim Terry. We will see you Friday night for the TCM 300 here on Facebook. Until then, Brandon.
Hammer down. We'll see you at the track.
That was not right, but that was close enough. Good night, everybody.
Yes, it was.